Hi, I'm Sally Thiebaud, menopause wellness and fitness coach with over 40 years experience in fitness, counseling, and I'm also an EFT master trainer. I can help you navigate this sometimes tumultuous time in your life to feel stronger, leaner, and lighter as you navigate towards the best years of your life. I hope you enjoy this video. I would like to introduce you to a very dear friend of mine, Jenna Kenny. Jenna and I have known each other for many years, and we've walked the same journey with our children, or our son, and I say. And when Jenna reached out to me when she saw that I was running a masterclass for middle-aged mothers who are also raising special needs teens, she wanted to share her story a little bit. So, Jenna, welcome.
Thank you, Sally. So good to be here. So good to see you again and have be able to catch up. It's been too long.
It has, ridiculously. We were just having a little chat before. Jenny, you want to share a little bit about your journey because, you're a single mother, and at that age where you're also experiencing all the wonderful experiences of menopause while raising a teenager. Do you want to share a little bit?
Yay.
I know, nature's greatest trick, right?
Uh-huh.
Share a little bit about what you've been through and your experiences in the last couple of years.
Sure. Well, I think, as we were just talking about the fact that, when you're a single parent and you're trying to do this, as well as coming into, the marvelous changes of life with all the hormones and my hormones and their hormones. And I've got, two children, as you know. I've got Keelan, who has autism on the autism spectrum, and was actually only I forgot to tell you that actually. So he was diagnosed when he was 5, but I was in such a crazy place with his feet because he was born with club foot and he had 5 years in hospital. I kind of rejected that because I got him to the age of 5 and I was like, okay, he's good now. Like we're good, we're ready to go. We're ready to start school. He can walk fine. He needed a little bit more physio, but apart from that, he was really great, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh, hey, we think there's a problem. And I was like, there's no problem. There's no problem with this child. He's all he needs to do is just connect him, and I unfortunately did myself a real disservice. Not that I agreed completely with the way in which the schools were going about it and the way that things happened at school. That was really quite tough. I think I was very scared, and I was on my own then too. And I was a little bit bullied by the system, by the schooling system, by the hospital system at that point, up until that point. So yeah, it was really difficult at the time because I was in a bit of denial, I think, for a long time. And then bringing him out of school in grade 5 and deciding to homeschool him on top of everything that was sort of happening with work and being on my own. It was a real juggle, as you know and probably well remember, and just a lot of running around in circles. Do you know what I mean? We had some good times with regards to our relationship. Do you know what I mean? We got a lot closer. Fast forward to now, he's only just turned 18, and Molly's now 16. And as I was just saying to you before, it's been really interesting to sort of face that, to be 50, coming up to 51, definitely hot flushing and all the good stuff that goes with that, and trying to regulate your body temperature nonstop and your hormones nonstop, coming up to that, facing the fact that you've got your body's changing, and in the meantime you're a human taxi cab. You're trying to sort of, make sure that they're eating properly and that they're drinking properly and that, all the right things are sort of happening for them. Keelan was just re-diagnosed about 5 months ago. So we got the actual diagnosis and is now finally, and unfortunately, going through NDIS. So they're able to offer a little bit of assistance, which I should have done a really long time ago. But I think, superwoman inside of me was in denial and rejecting the fact that, I needed anybody's help, which really, can I be honest, didn't help anybody's cause, not mine or his. We could have done this a lot better, a lot easier. Do you know what I mean? There could have been things done a bit differently, but it is what it is. We did it. We made,
Yeah.
we did what we did.
Yeah, and I think what you're talking about too is I think when I come across a lot of women, myself included, who thought of themselves as very confident, very self-assured, we will sort this out, we will find I'm not going to be a victim to anybody. And then I look back now on those times and think, oh my God, like it was just so hard.
Yeah.
because I was all over the place emotionally. So, I was president of the PNF Association. I was manager of my daughter's netball team. I was in a career I really loved that required a lot of time. And also, I like you that there's other children to be taken care of. And it was like I took the back seat because I
Yeah,
was Superwoman. And a little like you,
definitely.
I really didn't reach
Definitely.
out
Like
for help.
there's
Mm,
been no time, like, and that's one of the other things I was going to say to you is I think I'm just on the cusp of this time in my life where I'm like, it feels like I can kind of exhale a little bit. And now I'm looking at sort of the human carnage that is my body, that is my mind, that is my brain, going like, okay, when you haven't poured in, and I've
mm.
heard all the things along the way and had some really beautiful, wonderful support along the way, but I really spent a lot of time pouring out. And if I could encourage anyone who's on this journey, especially if you are on this journey and you are on your own on this journey in particular, it is so necessary. I cannot stress it enough. Pouring in means, like I've only really just learned, as you know, in the last couple of years, becoming a counselor and an arts therapist, and then now coming back to going out of that and coming back into financing again. I've really learned, even with the financing, because it's kind of high pressure and high paced, that I have to paint on the weekends. I have to sand something on the weekends that makes me feel happy. I need to walk through my garden with my feet, with my feet in the soil, and I need to do, the breathwork classes for me occasionally, and I need to go swim, and I need to go to yoga, and I need to schedule those things in like they are the most important things in my life, because they are.
100%. 100%. And that, I think, what you're talking about there is you've got a young person on the spectrum who is trying to figure out who they are and trying to sort out where they fit in the world. As they get older, it gets a little harder, not easier. At the same time that
Mm,
you, as you said, you've got to keep filling up. You've got to keep, like, what is it that triggers me? And what do I need to do? Like, I love what you just said, like the breath work and your art, and just getting your feet on the grass, to ground yourself, because
yeah.
the hormonal changes we go through, like the brain totally rewires during menopause because we have to learn to adjust without the estrogen. During that time is brain fog. And when you're somebody that's used to managing everything, all the balls in the air, and all of a sudden you can't remember what you did yesterday. It's like, and it's a real thing and it gets frustrating. Then the
Yeah.
stress rises.
Yeah.
And of course, what the problem is that as cortisol rises, it impacts on menopause symptoms as well, makes them more intense.
We're so lucky, aren't we? Like, I really admire the way that you've gone through your journey, though, Sally. And that's why I always come back to you. And I always sort of, I watch from afar and click on and look and watch, because I know that you always seem to pop in when I need to, like, remind myself that I need a little bit of, okay, refocus, Jenna. What am I, in the height of my like panic or whatever, I'll be like, oh, there's Sally, she's doing a workout. She's reminding me, like you are fantastic like that. And I'm so grateful for your presence online and for popping into my feed all the time and going, hey, you know what I mean? Because you do forget, you get busy and you forget. And you think, oh, I scheduled everything in. I had a great week last week, and then all of a sudden this week's a disaster, and you're like, why is it a disaster? Oh, okay, right. I didn't do
Yes.
that. I didn't do those things today that I needed to do for myself. I didn't, and not making it a weekly thing either. Like, I think like I used to do it as like a weekly thing. Like, if I can just paint once a week, I'll be okay. That's kind of how I managed when my mum was passing away and I was dealing with everything that was happening. And it really isn't a weekly thing, it's a daily thing, even if it's just journaling for 5 minutes to take the trash out of your head. And you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
what you, again, with your mother being ill and passing, we're part of that sandwich generation at
Yeah.
this age where we are dealing with aging parents, a child going through puberty, plus you add on special needs and autism diagnosis. It's like, oh my God, like, can we just have a break here? And
I know.
as you said, those things you need to do daily are so critical. When I look back when we're going, so David, my son's 39 this
Wow.
year.
Wow.
No, he'll be 40 this year. He's 39 now. And I look back at what did I do intuitively during those years? I mean, I would get up at 5 every morning and journal and do my EFT, and I'd go for a walk. I was very conscious as of my stress levels. And now knowing what I know now is that the decisions we have to make are based on, okay, am I putting any more stress in my life? Because if I do, you know what? I'm going to end up with belly fat. If I put more stress in my life, I'm going to have brain fog. If I put more stress in my life, I'm going to be exhausted. If I put more stress in my life, I'm not going to sleep well. And so it's that whole thing about, okay, what is it I can do to manage that? For you, it's art therapy. For
I'm
you,
going to actually go back to sleep, Sally. I'm going to go back to sleep because you and I have had many conversations over the years, and I know that I've been like a raving lunatic in some of those conversations. And I finally wrangled my sleeping patterns, right? And I
right.
think, I don't know if I'm alone out there, but if any of your listeners have, poor sleeping habits and they're not getting 8 hours a night sleep, can I just say to you that you are doing yourself probably the greatest disservice? Like, I used to be a complete insomniac. I don't know if you remember, but like I'd sleep at 2:30 in the morning, and then I'd be up at 7:30, trying to get everybody, dragging myself up in the morning, with like limited sleep, limited brain capacity, limited energy, limited everything, until I was finally like, okay, I got some really good supplements. I started with that liquid magnesium, which just literally changed my life. And I finally broke that pattern to sleep. And it was the first time in my life, I'm not even kidding, it's the first time in my life that I actually started to really sit down and look at my beliefs around sleep. When I was growing up, I used to think to myself, oh, there's plenty. I used to say it all the time, plenty of time to sleep when you're dead. No, you will be dead if you don't sleep. I'll be honest. Like,
So
you will be
true.
dead.
So true. And I think, again, I was like you, I was, because I had a career and I was always into personal development workshops. And I remember going to one, I don't know if you remember, Robert Kiyosaki used to run a whole heap of seminars, and they'd keep you up till 11 o'clock at night. And then you had to be back at 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning for a workout. And their thing was plenty of time to sleep. And this is 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now we recognize that the sleep is so important. I'm very conscious of that. My phone goes off at 8:30 at night, which gives me an hour to calm down. Magnesium, I'm exactly the same as you, because we're so depleted in magnesium. We really need it. And that, making sure you're drinking plenty of water, not having a glass of wine half an hour before you go to bed, but pacing that out, not having sugar before you go to sleep, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, Jenna, you need to sleep. You go, no, no,
Yeah.
no, I'm fine.
It was so bad. It was so bad. And there was points in that journey, like especially when, Keelan was sort of 16, 17, and he was going through, a lot of the panic attacks, and we were in and out of hospital all the time. He had a lot of anxiety, like debilitating anxiety. And it just felt like it felt like I wasn't allowed to sleep almost. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I got to last year, and we changed locations, and I just was like, that's why I built the deck the way that I built it, with all my plants and all the garden outside. I was just like, no, I need to, like, I don't know, it just makes me feel good to have a lot of greenery around and a lot of plants and put my feet in the soil. And it makes me feel like I feel kind of like I'm in the right environment. So changing my environment really helped me kind of go, okay, like I need to then go, what's the next thing? It's sleep. Okay, it's sleep. I need to give myself the gift of 8 hours a night.
Yes. Yes. I
And
think
it
that's lovely. It's
changed
the
my life.
gift. Like, it's
Yeah.
just that mindset we have to shift. And one of the things that I actually posted about this week, even if I had a night this week, for some reason, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning and couldn't get back to sleep till 4. Now, that usually happens for me around a full moon, and it wasn't a full moon, so I don't know why I did that. And then when I kind of woke up around about my normal time, 5:30, I thought, you know what? I need to sleep. I'm not going to go to
Yeah.
the gym. And I think that's really important in this journey, is that you recognize intuitively if you care for your body and your
Yeah.
mind in that process. So that's what I'll be teaching on the class, is I think class is only an hour. I don't know how I'm going to jam this all in. I get so passionate
I
about it.
think this could be like a full program. And I think, the fact that, never before, and sadly, never before I think have we as women done things in parallels so much, do you know what I mean, without the assistance of the group of, extended family like we used to have, of, and we've got girlfriends and things like that, but
Yeah,
when
not
you're
the
raising a
same.
child with special needs, you need a
Mm.
little extra. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? You do need a little extra because it can be very isolating, and you can feel like, all those mums out there with special needs children, obviously you're advocating for your children that are doing really great, and it's wonderful to see them doing great. And then you've got this one where you just want the world for them, you know what I mean? You don't want all the limitations and all the
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
labels and all the,
mm-mm,
the rubbish that comes along with that. But you don't have to either. I think
mm-mm.
through my training and getting my son to this stage, it's really yeah, it's been really wonderful to see how much they flourish, you know, and how they could continue to keep flourishing. Do you know what I mean? And if I'm looking after myself, the more I look after myself, the better
Yeah,
he's actually
puberty
become.
puberty is the hardest time. It truly is the hardest time when they've got raging hormones, you've got raging hormones, and I think there's something that you talked about then, that village. The BC Women's Health Survey just came out a couple of months ago, and one of the things they talked about was women going through perimenopause and menopause feel isolated. They often won't tell what they're going through because it can impact on their career. And so, and it's, then you add special needs on top of it. And, I think sometimes for many women, we don't want to talk about it because if you just get under the surface, I might fall apart. So I'm not going to, how are you? I'm fine.
Yeah,
I'm good.
yeah,
Yeah, we got it under
yeah,
control.
doing great. It's all working. It's all working. It's not really, but it's all working. Sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? You're absolutely right about that. Like I can remember actually, going a year ago, and because I work with my brother, and my brother saying to me, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "What's wrong with you?" He's like, your head's like everywhere, Jenna. Like, what's going on with you?" And I was like, David, this is where I'm at, trying to explain to him, like, not
Yeah.
only have I got all these things that I'm trying to like juggle and manage, but my brain is literally going through menopause. And, if you can be in denial around menopause for a little while until it comes and smacks you in the face, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, all right, this is real. It's not going anywhere.
That's exactly
And
right. So
it's
true.
frightening to talk about it. It's frightening to talk about it. It's frightening
Yeah.
to even face it, to
Yeah.
think, you had all this amazingness happen, right up until sort of this age, and then all of a sudden it's a little bit depressing because you think, gosh, can life get better, and can you manage this, and can you still feel wonderful and like a woman and sexy, and like, because you're facing, I guess, your youth. That's why when I look at you and I see how amazing you are and how beautiful you are and how well you take care of yourself, you're really a genuine inspiration
Oh,
to women. Really,
you.
truly, Sally.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's just, I love what I do and I love supporting what I do. And I just wanted to add a little thing you talked about there, not sort of sharing it. I went for dinner a couple of weeks ago with a whole group of women in a community that I've joined. And we all went around the table talking about, what we do. And when I said what I do, and the minute I mentioned menopause, oh my gosh, the conversation, and it was like these women started talking about it, and and I don't do this, and I'm on a waiting list for 18 months, and how does, like, it was like the tip of the iceberg. It's like once it felt okay to
Yeah.
talk about it, they did. But prior to that, how's things? Good. How you going? Good. But it's like, I mean, I'm so glad that this is happening now. That
Yeah.
event I went to, and they launched the BC Women's Health Survey. There were 500 people at that event, and it was hosted by the Vancouver Board of Trade. And I spoke to a gal that I was sitting next to, and I said, this couldn't have happened 2 years ago. 2 years ago, you couldn't have had this. But now it's moving to, because we have to talk about it. Every woman is
We do.
going to go through this. It's not like, you know 50% of, what's 51% of the population now. 51% of the population is going to experience it at some stage in their lives. And my daughters roll their eyes now every time I talk about it. But I think you need to know this. You need to know what my experience was. You need to know this is okay. You'll survive. These are the steps you need to take, and we need to normalize it, and in particular normalize it for mums who are going through this special needs
Yeah,
journey.
and also be able to go, there's hope. Like I feel
Mm.
like I went through a stage where I was like really like this is it. I was looking in the mirror going like, this is, this isn't great and that isn't great. And I've got random hairs coming out of places I've never even seen before. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And just, everything kind of drops a little bit and
Yeah.
but if you start to look at it and you open the conversations, I walked into a shop. I'm not even kidding. I walked into a shop, a homeware shop a couple of weeks ago with my girlfriend who's hilarious. And for some reason we just started talking about menopause, and I'm not kidding, Sally, like all four of the ladies in this shop who are around about our age all came over and they all started talking about their experiences. Women do want to talk about these experiences and they don't want to be isolated and alone through this. It's a lot.
It's a lot. And I'm so grateful that the conversation, because when I was going through it, you didn't say anything because that meant you were getting old. That meant you it meant that it was your time was coming to an end. And I look back on the time when I was working in corporate, and David, and the phone calls that come from his school, and I'd have to make a therapy session, and we're it was speech therapy and occupational therapy and whatever other therapy, and I'm trying to hold down this career. And I remember this one day, I had to have a board report ready by 8 o'clock Monday morning. I couldn't remember the names of the board members. I couldn't think. I had to go back and look. I'd only done a board report like every day, every week for 5 years. Couldn't remember their names. And I'm thinking, I am losing it. Oh, and because there's Alzheimer's is a lot in my mother's, one of 9 and 5 have passed with or because of Alzheimer's or dementia. So I thought, oh my gosh, is this early onset dementia? And it was really concerning. I'd be speaking to someone that I knew and I go, I can't remember your name. It's just awful. Anyway, that changes.
Isn't that crazy? Oh. It's crazy. And no one's talking about it. And, I think if we can just come together in greater communities and start talking about it, but also have greater compassion and empathy for women, just I think that's the way to do it. You know what I mean? Not only just be helping each other, but especially women having to do this, not only with teenagers, but with teenagers with, additional care needs. And it is just, it's a lot, but to be able to talk about it, I think it's like anything. You take the lid off it and all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, yeah, me too. You know what I mean? Like, not that I like that Me Too catchphrase, but yeah, it's happening for me as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and make it okay for all these incredible mothers out there trying to create a career in their 50s, because all their other friends are like gearing up because their kids are going off and doing these wonderful things when they're 18 and they're driving and they're doing all this stuff. And you're still worried about therapies and what's going on and the bullying, and they're locking themselves in the room and they're not talking to me. And so I remember looking back at that time thinking, oh, when is it ever going to be my turn? All my friends are off doing amazing things and I'm still raising a child, and why am I still raising a child? Like, it was just to me, I look back on that time. It was only when I had this conversation with Kate on the podcast that it suddenly all came back to me. Because you forget, you just can move on. And I thought, I remember thinking I couldn't see a way out of this. I remember thinking, like, I don't know what the future's going to hold. And then somehow they figure it out.
Yeah.
Somehow, their puberty kind of evolves and they'll do things maybe a little later than other people. Your expectation of what they can and can't do, especially if you have, like you do, her daughter, who are out doing amazing things, and you could, at their age, and they get there in the end. And I think
they do. It's so encouraging. I'm so happy that you just touched on that, because you know what, like, Keelan's only just recently started a course, and he's obtained 2 certs and a forklift license. And prior to getting the yes on this course, I was literally looking, going like, what's going to happen? You know what I mean? And he has, he's adulting. He's literally adulting all by himself at the moment. And I'm just like, I'll tell you, can I tell you this really funny story?
Yeah.
Okay. It was my propensity to save, right? To save and to protect and to just care. The other day he was having to, it was going to storm again. I'm in Queensland, so it was going to storm again like it does every day. And he was getting the bus home, and it was the second time he was getting the bus home. And I was freaking out because it was getting late. And I was texting him going like, are you on? Are you on? Are you on? And he was like, no, not yet. I think I've missed it. I don't think I'm standing in the right place. And I was like, oh. And I'm working and I'm trying to go, okay, I'm going to have to leave and go pick him up. And I'm thinking, okay, all right, fine. So I jump in my car and I sat in my car for like a minute, took a big deep breath and just said to him, if the bus comes, get on the bus. but I was still driving to go pick him up. And this panic feeling was like up here somewhere.
Yeah.
Because and he's 18, right? He's just turned 18. He's 18, so he's, you know,
not a kid.
And he's ridden public transport before, but he was in a new place, and I was thinking, oh, you know, something could happen really bad, you know. Anyway, I get halfway there and he texts me, and I look at the text and he's like, okay, I'm on. And just in front of me, I was sitting at the lights, just in front of me, there was a U-turn sign saying that you could U-turn. And I was like, I literally took the U-turn and I was like, okay, mama, time to let go. Let go.
Yes.
Time to allow him to build some resilience.
Yes.
Time to allow him to work it out and find his own answers.
Yes.
And you know what? If I could say to anyone, I know that there's a lot going on for parents raising kids with additional needs and, you know, spectrum kids, and they're so wonderful. And they literally, they can surprise us if we let them.
So true, Jenna. And on that note, I love that story because I have so many of those. I just got to tell you, so many of those. And yet, you figured it out.
Yeah.
Well, you figured it out. Isn't it amazing? Yeah. Thank you, Jenna. This has been absolutely wonderful to reconnect with you again. And and again, the masterclass I'm holding February the 19th. All on exactly what Jenna and I have been talking about, creating community. Let's look after you, because you know what you're going through. We get it. We've been there, and look at us. We survived.
Yeah, it's working.
That's right. And I'd love to share with everybody, you know, just some simple strategies help you survive this time, and again, you know, to create a community where we can talk, you know, freely and easily. So thank you, Jenna. It's been absolutely wonderful, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you do not miss another video on my channel. And I also invite you to join my Facebook group, Living Lighter, in order to have daily inspiration, motivation, education to help you navigate this wonderful time of your life. I'll see you soon.